Okay, guess what? It's going to sound crazy, but I'm just going to say it. Ghost Ship is planting a church. It's called Mono Church. It's going to start in the fall. You're the first ones to hear about it. This is the story of how it all began. All right, that's it. Bye.
Yeah, this goes faster than the dream.
Yeah, it does.
Woo! Woo! This is faster than we thought. But what is this? It wasn't connected. I took this out, and it's still not working.
You're so funny.
Well, I'm back on the road for the first time in a year. Campbell, thanks for putting the bag in, bud.
Love you, Scott. Bye, cuties.
Bye.
Bye, kitty.
I will hug you.
Love you guys.
Bye, kitty.
Bye, guys. See you later.
Bye.
I'm in a hotel room alone, and traveling again has caused me to take a moment and reflect back on how this whole thing started, how this whole church began. And you know what? It did not begin with this kind of thing, traveling and working and all this stuff. It's kind of cool for me to think that the whole thing began with Sabbath, with resting in the finished work of Jesus. Back in October, when Haley and I first started talking to people about what Mono Church would be, I asked the elders of our church, hey, can I share kind of what's on our heart with the congregation? And they said, yeah, we've got a meeting coming up where we're going to talk to everybody. It's like a members meeting. So you can share there, but you've only got 2 minutes. All right, it's got to be 2 minutes, like not 3, not 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You can talk for 2 minutes because we got a lot of other stuff to cover. So the meeting happens. It was on Zoom, during COVID and everything. And I share for exactly 2 minutes. And in that 2 minutes, 4 people texted me. I got 4 texts on my phone as I was talking. 4 people said, hey, we want to be a part of it. We want to be on the team to do this church plant thing. I was like, that's crazy. In the first 2 minutes that I've been publicly talking about this thing, 4 people are on board. Then a few days pass, 2 more people come on board. So all of a sudden, it's Haley and I and these 6 people. We've got a team of 8 people. And we just kind of hit the ground running. Everybody's excited. We're doing Zoom meetings together. We're strategizing. We're planning out all the way into the future for launching in the fall, even though that would be 9 months later at that time. But during that time, every morning I had the same routine. I'd go on a run, and I'm in the habit of listening to books when I run. And I was listening to the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. And that book, man, after just 6 years of just grinding as a pastor, I say 6 years because that was the 6 years at Cross and Crown, but really at that point, it was 16 years of grinding it out as a pastor. I was just really tired, and I'm listening to that book and listening to him talk about Sabbath and resting in the finished work of God. And it was just a huge blessing. So, I don't know, one day I'm on a run and the book ends and I'm like, dude, I've got to talk to the team. Because I just went from 16 years of going hard to the past few weeks of going hard with a new team. So I'm like, we got to talk. So we talk, we get on Zoom, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to tell y'all something that is a huge risk to me personally as the guy trying to lead this team. But I was like, I think we should start the church with Sabbath. We should actually just start by resting in the finished work of Jesus. And I said, it's a huge risk because right now you're excited and everything's new and you want to help. And maybe we'll take a little break to do the Sabbath thing, and then maybe you won't be excited anymore and you'll find something else to do in the next few months or whatever. But it kind of resonated with everyone, just the idea that a church would start with Sabbath. So we could, at any point in the next decades, we could look back and remember, hey, remember how this thing started? It started with resting in the work that Jesus had already done. So any work we do out of that, it just starts with his work. And it was amazing. The team agreed, and we took the next 2 months, November and December. Haley and I moved out of Seattle November 1st, and the whole team decided November and December would be the 8 weeks of Sabbath that we'd start the church with. And I think now, even a few months after that, I think that has already been the foundation that this ministry is built on. And what did that Sabbath time look like? Well, I like the way that John Mark Comer talks about it. He says he has like a 2-part grid. Is it rest or is it worship? And so for those 8 weeks, the team just focused on doing things that were either worshipful or restful. And that looked like a lot of different things, A lot of times it was just me playing with my kids, Sometimes it was going on a motorcycle ride alone by myself, just in silence. Sometimes it's just staring out the window. I got that. That was a good pro tip from John Mark Comer. He was saying a lot of times his Sabbath is just like looking out a window. And that was cool too. But now, months later, when the work has picked up, and there's been weeks that are just a pressure cooker. I mean, last week I was traveling. There's people we're working with in other states, and we're all trying to get on the same time zone, and we're doing Zoom calls and Slack meetings, and we have deadlines, and it's all good work. But I'm like, even in those heavy moments, I've had to remember this whole thing just began with resting in what God already did. So like last week, when it's crazy and I'm leading worship and the team's over here and I'm missing deadlines, God would just show me these things to say, he just sent me these reminders like, hey, remember this whole thing's built on what I've already done. There's many times where I'm thinking, God, this is going to be too much work. Like, I don't know if I'm the guy to do this. It's actually too hard. And then he would have some kind of miraculous thing happen. Just a few days ago, I'm getting done leading worship. I'm on Slack talking with the Mono Church team. And I'm thinking, how's this all going to work together? And then I get a text from someone who I've never met saying, hey, I want to be a part of what you're doing. And it just reminded me to go all the way back to the beginning and remember, like, God doesn't need me to be grinding 24 hours a day. He just needs me to be faithful and kind of follow what he's doing. And just remember, in the first 2 minutes of this church, he had already built the team. So if he can do that in the first 2 minutes, he can probably do a lot in the next 2 minutes. So today, when I can fly again and people can travel and we can stack up all the work the way we used to before COVID and try to do a million different things at the same time and try to edit video from your hotel room and then, write the set list for the next worship set on your phone as you're laying in bed in a hotel. I'm just remembering today, this whole thing, the foundation of the whole thing is the work Jesus has already done.